The world is once again standing at the edge of uncertainty, and this time the tension is centered around a conflict that could reshape global politics, energy markets, and military strategies for years to come. What is really happening between the United States and Iran? Is the war truly ending, as claimed, or is it quietly escalating into something much bigger and more dangerous? Mixed signals, rising military presence, and bold warnings are creating confusion not just among experts, but across the entire world. And today, we are going to break it all down in a clear and simple way, so you can fully understand what is going on, what it means, and what could happen next. Right now, the situation appears highly uncertain and complex. On one side, there are official statements suggesting that the conflict is nearly over. On the other side, military actions and strategic deployments tell a completely different story. The United States leadership has publicly described the war as almost complete, even saying that it is winding down. But at the same time, new military forces are being sent into the Middle East region. This includes a Marine Expeditionary Unit, which is a powerful and mobile force designed for rapid combat operations. This contradiction raises an important question. If the war is ending, why are more troops being deployed? At the same time, airstrikes and missile attacks have not stopped. In fact, they are continuing across multiple locations. This includes not just Iranian targets, but also areas connected to Allied forces in the region. Reports indicate that drone and missile attacks are still taking place, and some have even reached strategic locations like the joint US-UK base in Diego Garcia. This shows that despite claims of victory or completion, the conflict is still very active and dangerous. One of the most critical elements in this entire situation is the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway is one of the most important shipping routes in the world. Around 20% of the global oil supply passes through this region. Any disruption here can have a massive impact on global oil prices, economies, and supply chains. The United States has stated that reopening this route fully is a simple military task. However, the reality on the ground is very different. Currently, only ships approved by Iran are able to pass through safely. This means Iran still has a level of control over one of the most important energy routes in the world. This control gives Iran a strong strategic advantage. Even if its military infrastructure has been weakened, its ability to influence global trade remains significant. This is why the Strait of Hormuz is not just a regional issue, but a global one. Countries around the world are watching closely because any disruption could affect fuel prices, transportation, and even everyday goods. Adding to the tension, there has been a recent warning from the United States. A clear message was delivered stating that if Iran does not fully open the Strait of Hormuz within a specific time frame, military action could escalate further. One of the possible targets mentioned includes Iranian power plants. This is a serious development because targeting energy infrastructure can have long-term consequences, not just for the military, but also for civilians and the economy. Interestingly, recent statements have also showed a shift in goals. Earlier in the conflict, there were strong messages about regime change and demands for complete surrender. Now, those statements are no longer being emphasized. Instead, the focus appears to be more on controlling the situation and achieving specific strategic outcomes. This could mean that the United States may be willing to end the conflict without pressure Iran's leadership, as long as certain conditions are met. But this approach also requires ending a war captured or disabled, it could significantly reduce Iran's ability to sell oil, which is a major source of its revenue. This kind of move would not just be a military action, but also an economic strategy. By cutting off oil exports, pressure could be placed on Iran to negotiate or make concessions. However, such a step would also increase the risk of a wider conflict. Iran has already responded with warnings, stating that any attack on key locations like Kharg Island would lead to retaliation. This could include creating instability in other major shipping routes like the Red Sea and targeting energy facilities across the region. This is where the situation becomes even more dangerous. If multiple shipping routes are affected, it could disrupt global trade on a large scale. It could also draw in other countries, either directly or indirectly. The risk of escalation is not limited to just two nations. It could expand into a much larger regional or even global conflict. Another important factor to consider is the financial cost of this war. Reports suggest that a large amount of funding may be requested to continue military operations. This indicates that the conflict may not be ending anytime soon. Instead, it could turn into a long-term engagement requiring significant resources. Within the United States, there are already concerns being raised about this. Some leaders are asking important questions about the purpose of the mission, the expected outcome, and how it will be funded. These are critical questions because war is not just fought on the battlefield. It also impacts the economy, politics, and public opinion. The concept known as the fog of war is very relevant here. This term describes how confusion, uncertainty, and incomplete information can affect decision-making during a conflict. In this situation, not only are military planners dealing with uncertainty, but political leaders and the public are also trying to understand what is really happening. When official statements do not fully match the actions on the ground, it becomes difficult to trust any single narrative. This is why it is important to look at both words and actions together. Military movements, strategic locations, and economic impacts often reveal more than public statements alone. So where does this leave the world right now? The conflict appears to be at a turning point. There are multiple possible paths forward. One possibility is de-escalation, where both sides reduce military actions and move toward negotiation. Another possibility is limited escalation, where strategic targets are hit, but full-scale war is avoided. And then there is the most dangerous option, which is a wider conflict involving more regions and countries. Each of these paths comes with its own risks and consequences. De-escalation could bring stability, but may leave unresolved issues. Limited escalation could achieve short-term goals, but increase long-term tension. A wider conflict could have severe global impacts, affecting economies, security, and international relations. For viewers and citizens, it is important to stay informed and understand the bigger picture. This is not just about one region or one conflict. It is about global stability, energy security, and the balance of power. The decisions being made right now could shape the future in ways that affect millions of people around the world. As we continue to watch this situation develop, one thing is clear: clarity is limited and uncertainty remains high. Leaders are making decisions based on both strategy and pressure, and the outcomes are not always predictable. This is why staying updated with reliable information and understanding the key factors is more important than ever. In conclusion, the current situation between the United States and Iran is not as simple as it may seem. Despite claims that the war is nearing its end, ongoing military actions, new troop deployments, and rising tensions suggest that the conflict is far from over. Strategic locations like the Strait of Hormuz and Kharg Island play a crucial role, and any developments there could have global consequences. Financial concerns, political debates, and the risk of escalation all add to the complexity of the situation. The world is watching closely, and the next steps taken by both sides will be critical. Will there be a move toward peace, or will tensions rise further? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: This is a situation that demands attention, understanding, and careful analysis. If you found this breakdown helpful and want more clear and simple updates on global events like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with others who want to stay informed. Stay aware, stay informed, and I will see you in the next update.